this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
You're listening to a podcast, so you're doing something else too, like maybe scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving places you like without thinking you'll get them, because that's what house hunting has become. But Redfin isn't built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, which means when you find a place you love, you've got a real shot at getting it. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis-Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
This is Radhi Devlukia from A Really Good Cry. I absolutely love being outdoors, even if it's just stepping outside for a bit of fresh air between meals or taking a mindful walk to clear my head. But the one thing that can really ruin that is when my feet feel cramped in my shoes. So I switched to ultra running, and honestly, it makes such a difference. What I love most is their signature ultra fit, comfort balanced strength. They have this roomy toe box that lets my toes actually spread and move naturally. So I really appreciate that. And I feel more grounded and balanced with every single step. It's like my feet can finally do their job, using all those little muscles that make me feel stronger the more I move. Whether you are a marathon runner, beginner or advanced, or just getting outside to train, Ultras have become my go-to for running and moving mindfully. They fit so well, they're so comfortable, and they just move with you. Shop now at ultrarunning.com and use my code CRY10 for 10% off. That's ALTRA running.com. Experience Ultra and stay out there.
Welcome back to Behind the Bastards. I'm Robert Evans, and this is part 2 of our episode on Kaiser Wilhelm II. Now, before we get into the episode, because I think it's important that you know about the bastardry being practiced by the host of this show, I need to tell everyone that Jamie Loftus is dipping popcorn into salad dressing like a goddamn monster.
I got fucking...
Is that what you're doing?
Okay, first of all, yes, that is what I'm doing. Second of all, I got dragged the last time I was on this show because I mentioned that I dipped bagels in ketchup, and there was a lot...
I said that was fine.
I'm okay with the popcorn dipping into dressing.
I am not okay with the popcorn
dipped in dressing. Yeah, I fully support you because I know you have that.
Sin.
You have like taste buds that need more.
I need. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. I have. I have poor people taste buds. So.
I hope very desperately, Jamie, that this makes you less judgmental of the Kaiser, because I firmly believe that the millions he got killed in the trenches of Europe and you dipping your popcorn into salad dressing are equivalent crimes.
They're okay, sir. It's first of all,
this is your battle of the Somme.
This is not ideal. I would prefer to dip popcorn in soy sauce. There's no soy sauce here. I go for salad dressing.
Dipping popcorn in soy sauce is your Verdun.
Here's the thing. I like to make dry food wet. I can't explain why. I'm sure there's a very fucked up motivation behind it. But when a food is dry, I'm like, let's moisten this up. Let's see what happens. Good.
Horrible.
It's good.
Horrible.
I've never been so proud to be your friend, Jamie.
Thank you so much. It actually, I feel bad because I'm sure the salad dressing is stinky. But nevertheless,
On
she
board.
persisted.
Yeah, there you go. Live your truth, baby.
Does this make you uncomfortable, Robert?
I was just going to say, speaking of living your truth, let's talk about what happens when a profoundly damaged young man becomes the king of Germany and then gets a chance to live his truth.
I've got his birth chart up. Let's figure this out. Let's do it.
What does it say about people of his astrological sign leading the Imperial German military?
Well, here's the thing. I did his natal chart, but that's a little too complicated. What everyone needs to know is he's an Aquarius, and Aquarian leaders, they're positive traits. They're open-minded, right? They're creative. He was an artist, right? They're free-spirited. Negative traits, really bad stuff across the board for leaders. Impulsive, unpredictable, inconsistent, extreme, and stubborn. So, it was foretold.
I wouldn't call him open-minded in any way, but a lot of that tracks.
You know what's crazy? I feel like I'll get dragged more for invoking astrology than I will for dipping popcorn in salad dressing. And
they're both horrible crimes against humanity.
You know what? To each their own. I'm living a very vile life over here.
Now, the Reich that Kaiser Wilhelm inherited had been built and largely managed by Otto von Bismarck. And above all else, Bismarck wanted peace. The system of alliances he crafted for Germany were essentially, again, like I said, that era's version of mutually assured destruction. Starting a war with Germany would mean fighting with Russia too, and Russia controlled a sixth of the planet's surface. This was a pretty good system while it lasted. Bismarck was a monster, but not a dumb man. Knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
But Wilhelm came to power with distinct and probably agonizing memories of his father's martial prowess and military victories. He had been insecure his entire life because of his arm and the complete lack of praise he received from Hinz-Peter. Likewise, his wife and Bismarck had succeeded in inculcating a deep antipathy of his parents and of England in him. Kaiser Wilhelm II, A Concise Life, describes the mindset all of this resulted in once the young man came to power and was given the world's most powerful land army. Quote, Prince Wilhelm's mindset on the threshold of succeeding to the throne was characterized by bellicose ambition and contempt for parliaments and political parties, indeed for civilians in general. Britain must be destroyed was his watchword, and he was already developing a passion for the idea of a strong German navy. But Paris, too, had to be destroyed, he railed. Wilhelm was, naturally, very much in favor of war and hopes it will break out soon, General Waldersee noted with glee on 25th January 1887. Under the latter's influence, the prince also advocated war with Russia.
Sure.
That young man wants war with Russia and would like to draw his sword straight away if he could, Chancellor Bismarck recorded with dismay in 1888.
So, and to be clear, he doesn't come to power until he is nearly 30 years old.
Yeah.
Is that right? So at this point, we're like, this is no longer...
I think 29, yeah. Yeah,
so
he's not a boy anymore.
A juvenile young boy who wants to have sex with his mother's hand. This is a grown-ass, petty man...
Who wants to have sex with his mother's hand.
Who wants to have sex with his mother's hand, of course. Yes.
Now, Bismarck was also deeply concerned about the young emperor's almost violent hatred of Jewish people. This was the result of the influence of one Adolf von Stoker, the court chaplain. Now, Stoker was a member of the Christian Socialist movement, an anti-Semitic far-right party that also hated Catholics. Wilhelm's parents and grandmother had all been disgusted by discrimination and had pushed to end it in their country. But Wilhelm wanted to blaze a new, much more racist path, and he was supported in this by the Prussian officer corps, who were also thoroughly bigoted. The Kaiser and his new allies wanted to keep the German race pure, stop Jewish immigration, and remove Jews from positions in schools and public office. Before his ascension, Bismarck had rebuked the prince for his support of anti-Semitism. This sparked a passive-aggressive battle between the two men. From van der Kist's biography of Wilhelm. When Bismarck had articles published in the official press taking the religious conservatives to task for using Wilhelm, the latter wrote petulantly to Hinz-Peter that he did not deserve such treatment. As for the chancellor's sake, he had, for years, locked myself out of my parents' house. At about the same time, Wilhelm drafted a proclamation to the German princes, which was to be published in the event of his accession. Bismarck told him to burn it. Sulking, Wilhelm replied that when he came to the throne, he would have all Jewish influence over the press stopped. Told that this would be a violation of the Constitution, Wilhelm said grandly that they would have to get rid of the Constitution as well.
Sounds like someone we know.
Yeah!
Yeah.
If you look up Kaiser Wilhelm, Donald Trump, there's like a dozen different articles that different people have written about similarities between the two men. I think, for one thing, I don't entirely agree with that for a number of reasons. One of them is that Wilhelm is an infinitely more sympathetic figure than Donald Trump.
Right.
But there are some similarities, and that would definitely be one of them.
Oh wow, there's a whole goddamn New Yorker article.
Yeah,
about
there's
it.
a ton of articles about the similarities between the two men.
Well, I'm a genius.
Yeah. Wilhelm was fond of making these sorts of grand threats and pronouncements, like the one he made against Russia and England. Fortunately, they rarely resulted in anything. He was easy to talk down, and he was liable to balk at the last minute from acting on any of his rhetoric. Mm-hmm. But the rhetoric itself had a damaging effect on international relations. Wilhelm deeply worried the rest of Europe when he made this pronouncement to the people of Germany after taking the crown. We were born to each other, I and the army. We were born for each other and will cleave indissolubly to each other, whether it be the will of God to send us to calm or storm. You will soon swear fealty and submission to me, and I promise ever to bear in mind from the world above the eyes of my forefathers look down on me, and that I shall one day have to stand accountable for them, for the glory and honor of the army.
Also, why can't you have sex with your mother's hand? That should be legal. TTYL, Wilhelm.
Now, the Kaiser had no real military experience and no aptitude whatsoever for warfare, but he felt that he had to portray himself as a mighty warlord, in part because his father and grandfather had been mighty warlords. Mm-hmm. That was kind of Prussia's whole deal. So, to compensate for being just a dude with a bad arm, Wilhelm collected an absurd amount of military uniforms. His cousin, the Queen of Romania, wrote that he changed his uniform several times a day as a smart woman changes her gown. Now, Vanderkist's
embarrassing.
book... I know. Oh. It's about to get embarrassinger because Vanderkist's book goes into detail about just how extensive Wilhelm's wardrobe really was.
Okay.
In addition to his much-cherished foreign uniforms, he had a full one for every Prussian regiment, over 300 alone, to say nothing of those of Bavaria, Saxony, and Württemberg, as well as naval and marine uniforms. All had their own individual badges, sashes, caps, helmets, epaulets, shoulder points, belts, swords, lances, and firearms. The resulting wardrobe and armory had to be housed in a hall containing huge wardrobes, with a kammerdiener on duty from morning to night to select the shortest possible notice any outfit he might require. According to Anne Topham, his daughter's governess, he cut a fine figure in military dress, but in civilian clothes the effect was completely lacking. Many German gentlemen lost much appearance when out of uniform, but none to the extent that their emperor did. He no longer had any shred of dignity, and, curiously enough, that charm of manner was also bereft of its influence and merged into what was an offensive, wearisome buffoonery. He was wise, she added, not to appear before his subjects except in uniform.
Oh, God, I like how he's just like, how could I possibly not be a war hero? Look at all my shirts. Like, you're like,
yeah,
that's not how that works.
Pause. Pizza's here.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Let's talk about modern home shopping. It's sort of become a fun side hobby, right? Scrolling listings at night, dreaming about kitchens you've never seen, or backyards you haven't even stepped foot in, all from the comfort of pretty much anywhere. Redfin knows a lot of people like you want to own, but are stuck in this browsing mode loop. That's where Redfin flips the script. With listings that update within minutes and tours you can book right from the Redfin app, you can see your dream home the moment it appears. Now, liking a listing is easy, but actually landing it, that's where Redfin comes in. Redfin has over 2,200 agents with local expertise. And Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. That means they want to help you win, not just window shop. Redfin is built to help you go from just looking to wait, this could actually be home. So become the newest neighbor on the block. Visit redfin.com to start finding and start owning. That's redfin.com.
Now I'd like to introduce you to Meaningful Beauty, the famed skincare brand created by iconic supermodel Cindy Crawford. It's her secret to absolutely gorgeous skin. Meaningful Beauty makes powerful and effective skincare simple, and it's loved by millions of women. It's formulated for all ages and all skin tones and types, and it's designed to work as a complete skincare system, leaving your skin feeling soft, smooth, and nourished. I recommend starting with Cindy's full regimen, which contains all 5 of her best-selling products, including the amazing youth-activating Melon Serum. This next generation serum has the power of melon leaf stem cell technology. It's melon leaf stem cells encapsulated for freshness and released onto the skin to support a visible reduction in the appearance of wrinkles. With thousands of glowing 5-star reviews, why not give it a try? Subscribe today and you can get the amazing Meaningful Beauty system for just $49.95. That includes our introductory 5-piece system, free gifts, free shipping, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. All of that available at meaningfulbeauty.com.
This is Radhi Devlukia from A Really Good Cry. I absolutely love being outdoors, even if it's just stepping outside for a bit of fresh air between meals or taking a mindful walk to clear my head. But the one thing that can really ruin that is when my feet feel cramped in my shoes. So I switched to ultra running, and honestly, it makes such a difference. What I love most is their signature Ultra Fit Comfort Balance Strength. They have this roomy toe box that lets my toes actually spread and move naturally, so I really appreciate that. And I feel more grounded and balanced with every single step. It's like my feet can finally do their job, using all those little muscles that make me feel stronger the more I move. Whether you are a marathon runner, beginner or advanced, or just getting outside to train, Ultras have become my go-to for running and moving mindfully. They fit so well, they're so comfortable, and they just move with you. Shop now at ultrarunning.com and use my code CRY10 for 10% off. That's ALTRA running.com. Experience Ultra and stay out there.
So we're back. They received pizza in the room, and Jamie and I are talking about all the articles comparing Kaiser Wilhelm to Trump. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I noted is that like nobody ever really defends Kaiser Wilhelm. One of my weird hobbies is I like to go on YouTube and I like to find collections of Imperial Prussian and Imperial British and Imperial Russian like court music, like military marches and stuff like that. And I like to read the comments.
That's very weird. Yeah.
Well, I like to read the comments because the comments are filled with monarchists, with people who like desperately want to return to monarchy in Europe, and they're all the saddest, dumbest people in the entire world. And it's I like to read their arguments between each other. But nobody ever defends the Kaiser.
No, that takes. I mean, commenters will defend almost anything. That's I like to go to the YouTubes of like what am I saying? Okay, where you're like looking for a specific song, and so you search it on YouTube, and then you accidentally scroll down to the comments, and it's like something that's very depressing out of nowhere. I forget what song I was looking up recently, but the top comment was like, "My husband died to this song, and it's nice that it's on YouTube.com," and it was like a dance song. But anyways, I love commenters.
There's a story there.
Where's the Wilhelm hive? Where's the Will hive?
Yeah, they are not buzzing because he was really bad at his job. And even the dumbest people in the world, monarchists, can recognize that. Now, as his reign began, the Kaiser fell under the influence of a number of bad apples. There was the anti-Semite Stoker, who we already talked about. There was also Count Alfred von Waldersee, the deputy chief of the German general staff. Now, he was a rabidly pro-war nutfuck who supported an immediate attack against both France and Russia. Like this was his advice. We just invade them both simultaneously right now. Now, when Bismarck heard about the growing friendship between the Kaiser and Waldersee, he is said to have cried, "Alas, my poor grandchildren." So Bismarck, being a smart guy, pretty instantly realizes like, oh shit, this dude is going to plunge the whole continent into a stupid, stupid war.
And boy, was he right.
He was not wrong. Like I said, Bismarck is a visionary. He's a bad man, but he's a visionary, and he clearly saw what was going to happen.
God, I hate when the bad people are smart as well.
Yeah.
And they're more effectively bad.
Yeah, I mean, in Bismarck's defense, like, he was just kind of a sociopath, but he wasn't and like, his goals weren't dominate Europe and put all the Jews in camp. His goals were ensure Germany a place of prominence among nations and stop a massive European war. And he did gross and manipulative things to ensure that, but he wasn't trying to, like, make the world worse.
He wasn't doing chaos for chaos's sake.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. He wasn't like a his
I'll
goals were
that.
like he just wants things to not break into a war, and he wants Germany to be popular. Okay.
Well, now, he failed.
Yeah, he definitely didn't succeed in the long run. Now, Count Eulenburg, the Kaiser's best friend and probable crush, also led to the Kaiser's break with Bismarck. The Kaiser demanded that Bismarck promote the Count to the position of Prussian envoy in Munich, which was a very important job. Now, Bismarck balked at giving this job to an inexperienced friend of the king's. The conflict between the two men very much embodied a greater conflict within German governance. A large chunk of the country, including Bismarck, wanted Germany to be a proper nation-state with rules and laws and checks and balances. They weren't Democrats, and I don't mean that in like the American political sense. I mean like pro-democracy sense.
Right.
At least not all of them, but they didn't want an absolute monarchy where the Kaiser's will determined everything.
Right.
The Kaiser, on the other hand, didn't really see why other people should have a say in how he ran Germany. Now, Bismarck warned the Kaiser that filling government posts with his buddies would lead to a situation wherein he couldn't actually trust any of his ministers to give him good information, because they'd all be toadies at worst or his friends at best, and in any case they wouldn't be trustworthy to actually speak the truth to him when the truth needed speaking. The Kaiser ignored Bismarck, and over the next few years, the positions of the ministers and the Reich Chancellor, Bismarck's job, were demoted to what Roll calls royal lackeys.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Yeah. Throughout 1888 and 1889, Wilhelm and Bismarck's relationship degraded. Things came to a head in 1889 when a bunch of miners in the Ruhr district went on strike for better working conditions. Now, here Hinz-Peter had what you would actually say is a positive influence. As odd as it sounds, Kaiser Wilhelm instantly sided with the striking workers against their employers. This caused another rift between him and Bismarck, because Bismarck's, again, a piece of shit.
It's a rare good move.
Yeah, the Chancellor didn't give a fuck about the workers and obviously cared mostly about steel production and his friends who ran the companies. But, the Kaiser stood for the working people. And on May 12th, he charged into a meeting of the Prussian Ministry of State and declared that Bismarck was wrong for not acceding to their demands.
All right.
And declared the workers were his subjects whom he had to look after.
All right. Go
this
Wilhelm.
is like, this is good. Now, Wilhelm got his way on the Ruhr strike, further frustrating the Reich Chancellor. In the summer of 1889, he took his yacht out for his first cruise across Scandinavian waters. This became a yearly tradition, one he kept up for decades. On his first outing, he brought Waldersee and Eulenburg with him. The latter was, at least, a sane person who didn't support wars of aggression with the rest of the world. But Waldersee was a racist nutfuck, and during their vacation he convinced the Kaiser that Bismarck was Jew-ridden and had been conned into giving control of the Reich's monetary policy to a bunch of Jews.
Wait, and this was untrue. This is his crush?
No. His crush is a pretty reasonable guy. This is that racist general who wants him to invade the entire world.
God, the names are so confusing. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a lot. Waldersee is the racist general. Eulenburg is his crush. Now, so Waldersee convinces the Kaiser that Bismarck had been conned into giving control of the Reich's monetary policy to a bunch of Jews. This was a lie, but reality had very little influence on the Kaiser. Now, this month-long annual cruise around the coast of Norway became one of the Kaiser's favorite things, and I have to read you Vanderkist's description of it because it sounds like the worst time you could have on a boat. The annual cruise, or Nordlandreise, with its exclusively male company, allowed him, the Kaiser, to indulge in practical jokes and boyish tomfoolery, like applying a foot to the backside of elderly aides-de-camp engaged in physical exercises. Its purpose was originally to give him a month-long break from court life, but in due course his doctor decided it was counterproductive, as he was physically and mentally upset by the long voyage, diet, and exhaustion of various kinds, and it did him more harm than good. His entourage soon tired of these cruises, bored if not repelled by the juvenile atmosphere and behavior of the Kaiser and some of his officers, who loathed every childish prank and moment themselves, but were too sycophantic to say so.
God, it sounds like it reminds me of like that documentary where Jim Carrey goes method, where you're like, oh, he's just a tyrant. He's been waiting his whole life to get people trapped in this enclosed setting to be horrible. Cool. Well, I'm glad they did pranks on the set of his yacht.
You want to go on a month-long prank cruise with the King Boy?
with the King Boy who like has God. Imagine just having to go on a cruise with him and all of his demons. That's wild.
I'll guarantee you he never didn't have an erection and he never knew what it was for.
He's just walking around with a full erection all the time. Like, do you guys know what this is? Like,
just kicking people in the butt.
I think
he's laughing
hard as a rock, kicking old people around. What? Okay. Well, he's officially, Well, I mean, he's just a bad man. He's a creatively bad man in this case.
Yeah.
Really, really punishing everyone around him in very specific ways.
Yeah. Now, in January of 1890, Wilhelm told his crown council that he would celebrate his 31st birthday with 2 new proclamations, one to protect working people and limit their labor hours, and another to call an international summit in Berlin to improve labor conditions across the continent. So that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. All right.
Labor crusader.
I'm very surprised that he was like gunning for labor like this.
One of the good things about Hinz-Peter is he had taken him around to all these factories and mines and stuff when he was a kid. So the Kaiser had seen like how tough life was for working people. And he's not like a sociopath or anything. He had empathy for these people. So he did care about people. Like, he's not a monster. He does monstrous things, but he's not a monster. Now, Bismarck thought that the Kaiser's love of the working people was super dumb. The two fought over this, and another fight broke out in March of 1890 when Bismarck entered into negotiations with the leader of the Center Party.
He's like, Dog, why do you care about the poors? It's such a bad fucking look.
They're the poors, man. Come on.
The poors. What the fuck? What are you going to get out of that?
So Bismarck enters into negotiations with the leader of the Center Party, a guy named Windthorst, and their goal is to get rid of bigoted anti-Catholic legislation in Germany. So again, Bismarck is trying to fight against discrimination here. So none of these sides are simple here.
Right.
Bismarck hates working people, but also hates discrimination. The Kaiser fights for the working man, but gets furious about removing this anti-Catholic legislation because he's a bigot.
So they're just at a stalemate.
Yeah. Now, he's particularly pissed that this meeting between Bismarck and the leader of the Center Party had been organized by Bismarck's banker, who was a Jewish man. Now, to the Kaiser, this was confirmation that the Jews were secretly running his empire via Bismarck.
God damn it. Okay.
Next, according to Kaiser Wilhelm II, A Concise Life, early in the morning of 15 March 1890, there took place one of the most highly charged scenes ever played out in Berlin's center of government, the Wilhelmstrasse. Kaiser Wilhelm II summoned the 75-year-old Reich Chancellor from his bed and upbraided him for receiving Windthorst. He went on to complain that Bismarck had dug out a dusty old cabinet order of 1852 that prevented the monarch from receiving ministers except in the presence of the minister-president. He peremptorily demanded that the order be rescinded, which Bismarck refused to do. Wilhelm later recounted that Bismarck had become so violent towards him that he was afraid the Chancellor would throw the inkstand at my head. After this dramatic quarrel, Waldersee urged the Kaiser, in the presence of the chief of the military cabinet, to sack Bismarck forthwith. The present state of affairs was quite untenable, he argued, and moreover the Chancellor was too closely allied with the Jews. Bismarck first sent Honk, his military leader, and then the chief of the civil cabinet, Hermann von Lucanus, to the Chancellor, ordering him to hand in his resignation, which Bismarck finally did on 18th March 1890. If Waldersee, as one can safely assume, expected to take Bismarck's place, he was in for a bitter disappointment. That same evening, Wilhelm II announced to the commanding generals assembled in the Berlin Schloss that, in order to remain master of the situation, he had to issue an order to the Chancellor insisting that he submit. So the Kaiser accepted Bismarck's letter of his retirement and made a guy named Caprivi, who was a lickspittle, the new chancellor. So yeah. He forces out the guy who, the political cartoons in Europe at this time are show the Kaiser on a boat kicking Bismarck, the pilot of the boat, off of the ship. And that's generally how this is seen. Germany has jettisoned its pilot in favor of the dumbest monarch in Europe.
Man, what a choice. What a choice.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not great.
I mean, there's no winning scenario, but they did seem to choose the losinger of the two.
They definitely chose the losingest scenario.
The losinger, yeah.
But you know what's not the losing scenario, Jamie?
Tell me.
The products and services that support this show.
Oh, it's true. I love each and every one, even especially the dick pills.
The dick pills especially. And one of the Behind the Bastards guarantees is that no more than 7% of our sponsors contributed to the outbreak of hostilities in World War I.
Wow, okay. So
that's a guarantee no other podcast will give you.
That's a little wiggle room. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. Up to 7%.
Okay. I'll crunch those numbers and then cancel you later.
All right. Here's some ads.
Products.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Let's talk about modern home shopping. It's sort of become a fun side hobby, right? Scrolling listings at night, dreaming about kitchens you've never seen, or backyards you haven't even stepped foot in, all from the comfort of pretty much anywhere. Redfin knows a lot of people like you want to own, but are stuck in this browsing mode loop. That's where Redfin flips the script. With listings that update within minutes and tours you can book right from the Redfin app, you can see your dream home the moment it appears. Now, liking a listing is easy, but actually landing it, that's where Redfin comes in. Redfin has over 2,200 agents with local expertise. And Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. That means they want to help you win, not just window shop. Redfin is built to help you go from just looking to wait, this could actually be home. So become the newest neighbor on the block. Visit redfin.com to start finding and start owning. That's redfin.com.
Now I'd like to introduce you to Meaningful Beauty, the famed skincare brand created by iconic supermodel Cindy Crawford. It's her secret to absolutely gorgeous skin. Meaningful Beauty makes powerful and effective skincare simple, and it's loved by millions of women. It's formulated for all ages and all skin tones and types, and it's designed to work as a complete skincare system, leaving your skin feeling soft, smooth, and nourished. I recommend starting with Cindy's full regimen, which contains all 5 of her best-selling products, including the amazing youth-activating melon serum. This next generation serum has the power of melon leaf stem cell technology. It's melon leaf stem cells encapsulated for freshness and released onto the skin to support a visible reduction in the appearance of wrinkles. With thousands of glowing 5-star reviews, why not give it a try? Subscribe today and you can get the amazing Meaningful Beauty system for just $49.95. That includes our introductory 5-piece system, free gifts, free shipping, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. All of that available at meaningfulbeauty.com.
This is Radhi Devlukia from A Really Good Cry. I absolutely love being outdoors, even if it's just stepping outside for a bit of fresh air between meals or taking a mindful walk to clear my head. But the one thing that can really ruin that is when my feet feel cramped in my shoes. So I switched to ultra running, and honestly, it makes such a difference. What I love most is their signature ultra fit, comfort balanced strength. They have this roomy toe box that lets my toes actually spread and move naturally. So I really appreciate that. And I feel more grounded and balanced with every single step. It's like my feet can finally do their job, using all those little muscles that make me feel stronger the more I move. Whether you are a marathon runner, beginner or advanced, or just getting outside to train, Ultras have become my go-to for running and moving mindfully. They fit so well, they're so comfortable, and they just move with you. Shop now at ultrarunning.com and use my code CRY10 for 10% off. That's ALTRA running.com. Experience Ultra and stay out there.
Now, with Bismarck out, Kaiser Wilhelm was the unquestioned chief power in Germany. Mm-hmm. And this was not a good thing. Wilhelm was bad at every aspect of the job, particularly diplomacy.
And he had been for years is the most frustrating part.
He had been for years!
This was not a shock to anyone. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, he was convinced that his relation to the other crowned heads of Europe and his personal charisma would allow him to negotiate well with other nations. The New Yorker summarizes his talent for this part of the job thusly. Quote, he called the diminutive King Victor Emmanuel III of Italy the dwarf in front of the king's own entourage. He called Prince, later Tsar Ferdinand of Bulgaria, Ferdinando Naso on account of his beaky nose and spread rumors that he was a hermaphrodite. Since Wilhelm was notably indiscreet, people always... Yeah. Since Wilhelm was notably indiscreet, people always knew what he was saying behind their backs. Ferdinand had his revenge. After a visit to Germany in 1909, during which the Kaiser slapped him on the bottom in public and then refused to apologize, Ferdinand awarded a valuable arms contract that had been promised to the Germans to a French company instead. One of the many things that Wilhelm was convinced he was brilliant at, despite all evidence to the contrary, was personal diplomacy, fixing foreign policy through one-on-one meetings with other European monarchs and statesmen. This is one of the reasons people compare him to Trump a lot. In 1890, he let lapse a long-standing defensive agreement with Russia, the German Empire's vast and sometimes threatening eastern neighbor. He judged wrongly that Russia was so desperate for German goodwill that he could keep it dangling. Instead, Russia immediately made an alliance with Germany's western neighbor and enemy, France.
I don't like a dingle negotiation. That's nasty.
It's bad.
Wipe it.
Wilhelm decided he would charm and manipulate Tsar Nicholas II, a ninny and a whimperer, according to Wilhelm, fit only to grow turnips, into abandoning the alliance. In 1897, Nicholas told Wilhelm to get lost. The German-Russian alliance withered. So he comes to power and within a couple of years scraps the alliance with Russia, and Russia immediately allies with France, which means that Germany is now surrounded on both sides by enemies. Mm-hmm. So he went from Germany's entire flank to the east being totally protected by a military ally to the nation being surrounded.
Jesus Christ. That is...
He's so bad at this. Yeah.
It's crazy how, and it like the speed at which he's bad at it too. Like, it's not even a slow burn, like, I do something shitty like, he's just, like, expeditiously ruining everything.
No, he is a more stupid, faster guy. Very much so.
The worst kind of person. Okay.
Now, one good thing you can say for the Kaiser is that he was better than most modern governments at promoting gay people to positions of high authority. The downside of this is that these guys were all his friends and sycophants, and he almost certainly had no idea they were gay. His best friend Eulenburg, of course, occupied high positions in the Reich, but there were too many rumors about him for him to be made chancellor. There were a number of, trials and, news stories that would come out. So the Kaiser promoted a dude named Bülow for the job. A letter Bülow wrote in July 1896 shows that things within the German government had degraded exactly the way Bismarck predicted they would. Quote, I would be a different kind of chancellor from my predecessors. Bismarck was a power in his own right, a Pepin, a Richelieu. Caprivi and Hohenlohe regard themselves as the representatives of the government and to a certain extent of the parliament in relation to his majesty. I would regard myself as the executive tool of his majesty. So to speak, his political chief of staff, with me, personal rule, in the good sense, would really begin.
I'm picturing this as like an Instagram caption.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Bülow would have been tweeting sycophantically about his boss in this modern era, but he comes to power and immediately promises, I'm going to do everything the Kaiser says and not represent the rest of the government in any way. That's his promise.
Wow.
And he thinks that's a good thing. Now,
sure.
In an 1898 letter to his mother, Kaiser Wilhelm exulted in his ability to gradually wear down the government of Germany into acting as just an extension of his ego. Forever and ever, he exulted in a letter to his mother in 1898. No. There is only one real emperor in the world, and that is the German, regardless of his person and qualities, but by right of 1,000 years' tradition, and his chancellor has to obey.
Oh, God, leave your, if nothing else, leave your poor mother alone.
Now, Eulenburg, who'd put Bülow up for the job because Eulenburg, there were too many rumors about him being gay, wrote the new chancellor this advice for working under Kaiser Wilhelm. And again, I have to remind you, this man loves Wilhelm.
Right.
Quote,
well, I mean, yeah.
Wilhelm II takes everything personally. Only personal arguments make any impression on him. He likes to give advice to others, but is unwilling to take it himself. He cannot stand boredom. Ponderous, stiff, excessively thorough people get on his nerves and cannot get anywhere with him. Wilhelm II wants to shine and decide everything himself. What he wants to do himself, unfortunately, often goes wrong. He loves glory. He is ambitious and jealous. To get him to accept an idea, one has to pretend that the idea came from him. Never forget that His Majesty Majesty needs praise from time to time. He is the sort of person who becomes sullen unless he is given recognition from time to time by someone of importance. You will always accomplish whatever you wish so long as you do not admit to express your appreciation when His Majesty deserves it. He is grateful for it like a good, clever child. If one remains silent when he deserves recognition, he eventually sees malevolence in it. We too will always carefully observe the boundaries of flattery.
I mean, who among us has not worked for someone exactly like this?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was working for someone like this 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hollywood is 30% people like this.
30% Wilhelm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I mean, but the fact that that's like one of his closest friends, he's like, yeah, he's an absolute nightmare. He's the worst person I know, but also he's my closest friend. So, you know.
And I love him. Yeah.
And the health insurance is great. So put up with it. Yeah.
Now, Wilhelm had a bad reputation for basically siding with whatever the last person he talked to had said. Since a number of his generals were warmongering racists, this was problematic. In 1896, the Kaiser impulsively sent a congratulatory telegram to Paul Kruger of the Transvaal Republic, South Africa, for his victory over a British raiding party. This is like in the Boer War period. Now, the Boers are a Germanic people, and there was great sympathy for them within the Reich. But England was the world's preeminent naval power, and by sending this message, the Kaiser provoked rage from a country he really needed to keep on his side, since he'd already alienated Russia. So that's not a great move. Like, reaching out to the enemy of the greatest naval power in the world and being like, good job killing some of their guys. Like, it doesn't play well in England.
Again, petty, dumb. Ugh.
Now, there were numerous other insults and slights like that. He was Kaiser for like 26 years before the war, and this shit happened constantly. I'm just going to, I'm giving you a couple of examples so you know the sorts of shit he was up to.
Right.
Bit by bit, Wilhelm alienated basically all of Germany's allies. His advisors and ministers, men like Bülow and Eulenburg, proved unable to do anything but praise the Kaiser and hope to calm him down and reduce his impulsive swings. They were often unsuccessful. In 1900, the Boxer Rebellion in China led to the capture of a number of Europeans, including Germans, in the city of Peking. Most of Europe's great powers dispatched soldiers to deal with the situation. The Kaiser was late in doing so, and his men arrived too late to participate in the fight. But before they left, the Kaiser insisted on addressing them personally with a speech that made him the laughingstock of Europe. It ended like this. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago, the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend, may the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. Now, you've heard of like how the Huns, like Germany was referred to as the Huns in like World War I propaganda by the British and the Americans and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This speech is why. The Hun speech is what people call it.
So they were just like roasting Wilhelm indirectly.
Exactly. Pretty directly, actually.
Yeah, I guess that's not even a subtweet.
Because, like, this is seen as really silly. For one thing, like, beating China in this period was not something to brag about. Like, the European powers had machine guns and, like, modern battleships and military tactics, and the Chinese military just did not. And so it wasn't really a fight.
Right.
Also, the Germans arrived too late to participate in the fight. So this was both seen as like a man-child pretending to be a warrior, but it was also seen as deeply worrying by the crowned heads of Europe, the other leaders of the European powers, because the Kaiser had Europe's most powerful army, and it's not comforting to hear him say this shit. It's like somebody with a huge gun collection talking about how he could carry out a school shooting if he wanted to.
Oh,
like,
that's always
you'd be
very
like,
comforting.
oh, fuck. Yeah, this is a problem. Maybe I should call the police. But of course, there's no police to call on the Kaiser.
No. Don't you love when someone's above the law and therefore thousands of people have to die?
Millions, but yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Millions.
Millions. Okay.
Nations worth.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the army, they were the only ones who really gained in power during Wilhelm's reign. He had a habit of promoting generals to ministerial positions. He liked being surrounded and consulted by them. His appointees included General Alfred von Schlieffen, a military tactician who developed an elaborate plan for how Germany could beat both Russia and France in a European war.
Wasn't it like a 5-year plan? It was, or what was the duration?
It was very quick. It was supposed to happen in a matter of months. So basically, the idea was that you're surrounded now because Wilhelm fucked up and made Russia an enemy.
Love.
So Germany has to fight both Russia and France at the same time. So Schlieffen's idea was that the vast majority of the Germans' army, like 2 or 3 million men, would invade and conquer Paris very quickly. And then, a small chunk of the German army would hold off the Russian army in the east until the rest of the army could be freed up and sent by rail to go fight the Russians. The only way for them to beat France quickly was to bypass France's fortresses and like defensive line on the German-French border and invade through Belgium. Now, this would necessitate Germany Belgium's a neutral power. So this would necessitate Germany launch a war of aggression against a neutral power. And Britain had an agreement with Belgium that they would defend them from this sort of thing. So basically the nature of the Schlieffen Plan essentially guaranteed that Britain would get involved in a war between France and Germany.
Okay.
So it's not a great plan. It's a very detailed and elaborate plan. But it's not a good idea. And
he
it's
just
only
wrote
necessary.
a Medium.com article. He's like, all right, here's what I want to do. And everyone's like, well, at least he came up with a plan.
I mean, you could argue that it was the best possible plan in the impossible situation that the Kaiser had put Germany in.
Yeah.
No. But if you have to try to beat Russia, a sixth of the world, and France, the second largest military power in Europe, simultaneously, there's really no good way to do that. And in Schlieffen's defense, this actually came very close to working. Germany almost won World War I very early on.
Okay.
They didn't, and everything else that happened
brave
happened.
Brave of you to come to Schlieffen's defense in this way.
It's more just pointing out, I think it's important to note how powerful the German army was. The German army essentially on its own, because Austria-Hungary was useless and their allies, the Italians, turned their backs on them almost immediately. So Germany on their own conquered a huge chunk of France, beat Russia, beat Romania, and conquered the majority, almost won a war against the entire world. And that's the force that this guy inherits, this that's man with anger problems.
Yeah.
So it's less like a guy with a gun collection and a guy with a nuke collection. That's the power of the army that he gets as birthright.
Right.
Which maybe means you shouldn't get armies by birthright.
Now there's something to think about.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Yeah. So it's a bad idea. So basically, the Schlieffen Plan means that by necessity there would be no defensive wars for Germany under the Kaiser. So another general close to the Kaiser was Helmuth von Moltke. Moltke was one of the relatively few people who was brave enough to criticize Kaiser Wilhelm to his face. The cause of his ire in the first case was the annual German war games, particularly the fact that every year they were arranged so that the Kaiser would win no matter what he did. Von Moltke was convinced that the next European war would be an enormous bloody affair, consisting of millions of men and entire nations at arms. He did not think set-piece war games like Germany practiced were adequately preparing her for this sort of conflict.
Fair.
And I'm going to quote a passage now from von Moltke's memoirs. And this is him talking to the Kaiser. And when I now look at the strategic war game plans which are put before your majesty year after year, regularly ending with the taking prisoner of enemy armies consisting of 500,000 or 600,000 men, and that too after only a few days of operations, I cannot avoid the feeling that this in no way meets the conditions of war. I cannot engage in such war games. Your majesty knows yourself that the armies led by you regularly encircle the enemy, and in this way allegedly end the war with one blow. In my opinion, these results can only be brought about by forcefully distorting circumstances in such a way that the basic principle that the war game should be a study for real war and should take into account all the friction and obstacles that arise in war is not met. This kind of war game in which, to a certain extent, your majesty's enemy is at your mercy, with his hands tied from the outset, must give rise to false ideas which can only be pernicious when war comes. But in my view, this is not the worst part of it. I hold it to be even more disturbing that the distorted war games have the effect of destroying their interest for the wide circle of officers involved. Everybody has the feeling that it doesn't matter what you do. A higher destiny controls the business and brings it one way or another to the desired conclusion. Your Majesty will have noticed that it becomes increasingly difficult to find officers who want to exercise command against you. This is because, everyone says, I'll only be wiped off the map. However, what I complain about most, and what I must say to your Majesty, is that because of all this, the officers' confidence in their supreme commander is severely shaken. The officers say that the Kaiser is much too clever not to notice how everything is arranged, and that he shall turn turn out to win, so that must be the way he wants it. Now, the Kaiser expressed shock to Moltke that things had been arranged this way and claimed to have no idea that the war games he took part in every year were rigged.
I honestly believe that.
Yeah, I think he's just deluded.
Yeah, I think that I mean, it's like, given his upbringing and the fact that just no one has ever pointed anything out to him in his entire life, it tracks that he's like, wait a second, I'm not fucking the coolest person that's ever...
I'm not the best military leader in history?
Especially at this point where he's been in charge for so long, too. Like, no one has negged him in decades.
Yeah, not since Hinspeter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not a great thing.
No.
Now, from an early age, Wilhelm II had been obsessed with warships, like most boys. But unlike most boys, he came up to own a nation, and he was able to indulge in his obsession with naval boats. This quickly became a problem. See, England's thing was being the best at having a navy. Since they were a tiny country with a very tiny army, the Royal Navy was really the only thing that ensured Great Britain's safety. Germany was the unquestioned military master of Europe, and the only reason that Britain didn't worry more was that they had naval supremacy. But in 1897, Wilhelm made an admiral named Alfred von Tirpitz the Secretary of the Navy. Now, his reasons for this were simple. Tirpitz was good at praising the Kaiser and making him feel included in naval decisions. Tirpitz had realized on their first meeting that the Kaiser, quote, did not live in the real world, and had discovered that he could very easily manipulate the emperor by painting a lurid picture of a gallant and unstoppable high seas fleet. In 1897, the year after the Kaiser's disastrous Kruger telegram where he praised people for killing British soldiers, Germany passed its first naval bill, announcing a massive expansion of the fleet. Coming a year after the Kaiser praised one of Britain's enemies for defeating her soldiers, this was not seen as a friendly move.
No way.
According to John...
All right.
According to John Satir, a professor at the University of Virginia, quote, the Kaiser often indignantly denied that Germany was challenging Britain's domination of the seas, but there is clear evidence that this was in fact the aim of Admiral Alfred von Tirpitz, whom he had made Secretary of the Navy in 1897. When in 1904, Britain settled its outstanding disputes with France, the Kaiser, at Bülow's suggestion, went to Tangier the following year to challenge France's position in Morocco by announcing German support for Moroccan independence. His hopes of thereby showing that Britain was of no value as an ally to France were disappointed at the 1906 Algiers Conference, in which the Germans were forced to accept French predominance over Morocco. In 1908, William caused great excitement in Germany by giving, after a visit to England, a tactless interview to the Daily Telegraph, telling his interviewer that large sections of the German people were anti-English. He had sent the text beforehand to Bülow, who had probably neglected to read it, and who defended his master very lamely in the Reichstag. This led Wilhelm to play a less prominent role in public affairs, and, feeling that he had been betrayed by Bülow, he replaced him with Theobald von Bethmann-Hollweg. Bethmann's attempts to reach an agreement with Britain failed because Britain would not promise neutrality in a war between Germany and France unless Germany would limit its fleet. This the Kaiser and Tirpitz refused to do. So there's a chance to stop Britain from coming in against Germany in World War I, but he has to not build a shitload of boats, and the Kaiser really wants a shitload of toy boats.
I mean, and and again, you can track that way the fuck back.
Yeah,
this man loves his boats.
He loves his fucking boats.
Jesus.
Now, that Moroccan crisis that was talked about in the quote above very nearly resulted in World War I breaking out in 1906. And in that case, the Kaiser and everyone were lucky that cooler heads were able to pull Europe's fat out of the fire. But the fact that things had gotten that close was evidence that the Kaiser's utter lack of competent ministers and gut-focused foreign policy was basically the world's deadliest game of dice. The series of bad decisions that would lead the world into blood-soaked calamity started in 1909, when Austria-Hungary announced the formal annexation of Bosnia and Herzegovina. These provinces had been administered by Vienna since 1878, but they were formally part of the Ottoman Empire. When the Young Turk Rebellion swept the Ottoman Empire and imposed a constitution on the Sultan, Austria-Hungary saw it as a chance to right what they saw as a historical wrong. Now, the Ottoman Empire was allied with Germany, and that alliance was one of Wilhelm's very few successes. But the Kaiser was unhappy with the Young Turk Revolution, because the constitution they forced on the Sultan was made an imitation of Great Britain, and Wilhelm took offense to this. Backing Austria-Hungary in this was an odd decision, especially given the fact that one of Wilhelm's later schemes was to try and win the Muslim world over to his banner. And we're going to talk about that. But before we talk about how Kaiser Wilhelm tried to win over the Muslims, let's talk about how these products and services are going to try to win over your dollars.
Ayo. smooth transition as usual, Robert.
Maybe my best, yeah. Products!
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Let's talk about modern home shopping. It's sort of become a fun side hobby, right? Scrolling listings at night, dreaming about kitchens you've never seen, or backyards you haven't even stepped foot in, all from the comfort of pretty much anywhere. Redfin knows a lot of people like you want to own, but are stuck in this browsing mode loop. That's where Redfin flips the script. With listings that update within minutes and tours you can book right from the Redfin app, you can see your dream home the moment it appears. Now, liking a listing is easy, but actually landing it, that's where Redfin comes in. Redfin has over 2,200 agents with local expertise. And Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. That means they want to help you win, not just window shop. Redfin is built to help you go from just looking to wait, this could actually be home. So become the newest neighbor on the block. Visit redfin.com to start finding and start owning. That's redfin.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Crawford, and I'm the founder of Meaningful Beauty. Well, I don't know about you, but I never liked being told, oh, wow, you look so good for your age. Why even bother saying that? Why don't you just say you look great at any age, every age? That's what Meaningful Beauty is all about. We create products that make you feel confident in your skin at the age you are now.
Meaningful Beauty. Beautiful skin at every age. Learn more at meaningfulbeauty.com.
This is Radhi Devlukia from A Really Good Cry. I absolutely love being outdoors, even if it's just stepping outside for a bit of fresh air between meals or taking a mindful walk to clear my head. But the one thing that can really ruin that is when my feet feel cramped in my shoes. So I switched to ultra running, and honestly, it makes such a difference. What I love most is their signature Ultra Fit Comfort Balance Strength. They have this roomy toe box that lets my toes actually spread and move naturally. So I really appreciate that. And I feel more grounded and balanced with every single step. It's like my feet can finally do their job, using all those little muscles that make me feel stronger the more I move. Whether you are a marathon runner, beginner or advanced, or just getting outside to train, Ultras have become my go-to for running and moving mindfully. They fit so well, they're so comfortable, and they just move with you. Shop now at ultrarunning.com and use my code CRY10 for 10% off. That's ALTRA running.com. Experience Ultra and stay out there.
We're back! Now, we're talking about Kaiser Wilhelm's attempt to make all the Muslims love him. That may seem weird, but there's logic behind it. See, the British Empire ruled a huge chunk of the Muslim world, and the French Empire did as well, and most of those Muslims were unhappy with this fact. Mm-hmm. If Wilhelm could earn their loyalty, he thought, it would provide him with another weapon to use against England. Friendship with the Ottomans also helped counter Germany's isolation, which was only a thing because Wilhelm sucked at diplomacy. Mm-hmm. In 1905, he said this, "In the present very tense circumstances, when we stand almost alone in the face of great coalitions which are being formed against us, our last trump card is Islam and the Mohammedan world." So Wilhelm saw the Young Turks and their Anglo-friendliness as an attack on his hard-won courtship of their empire. So he threw them under the bus to support Austria-Hungary's ambitions. This trend of supporting Austria-Hungary regardless of what it did would prove to be all of Europe's undoing. As Roll's biography notes, from then onwards, Kaiser Wilhelm ardently supported his allies' initiative and, as usual, overshot the mark in his martial enthusiasm. When the possibility of war between Austria-Hungary and Serbia loomed, he exclaimed, "If only it would start!" He was fully aware of the danger that Germany could be drawn into a war against France and Russia by a Balkan conflict. 13 years earlier, on November 1895, Wilhelm II had assured the Austro-Hungarian ambassador, Count Ladislaw von... I'm not going to try to pronounce this fucker's name. The Austro-Hungarian ambassador, quite plainly, that he would stand at Austria-Hungary's side with all the forces at my disposal, without any further inquiry as to whether there's any cause for war that exists in our accordance with our Treaty of Alliance. Your all-highest sovereign, Franz Joseph, may be quite sure that if at any moment the position of Austro-Hungarian monarchy is at issue, my entire fighting forces will be immediately and unconditionally at his disposal. So the Kaiser gives Austria-Hungary a blank check to do whatever they want, and this would wind up probably being the key mistake most responsible for plunging Europe into the First World War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems to be the popular opinion.
Yeah. When Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated by a Serbian partisan in the summer of 1914, it made Austria's war against Serbia inevitable. Russia was bound to come to Serbia's defense, and the Kaiser had repeatedly promised, loudly and publicly, to back Austria-Hungary in any such war.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there'd been another Balkan crisis in 1912 and 13 that had almost led Europe off a cliff into war, but again, cooler heads had talked things down. This time, however, in 1914, there were fewer cooler heads available. For one thing, the Kaiser's best friend, Eulenburg, was no longer in the picture. A complex blackmail plot, orchestrated in part by pro-war elements in the German government, had been executed against Eulenburg. The chief cause for this was Eulenburg's pacifism. Once he was out of the picture, the Kaiser had no friends close to him who actually cared about him as a human being. Eulenburg was a lickspittle, but he was a lickspittle who legitimately had Wilhelm's best interests at heart and didn't want a war.
Sorry, can you unpack the term lickspittle?
Yeah, he's a sycophant. He's somebody who just is going to praise the leader and not going to question them too much.
Is that your word, or is that someone else's word?
No. That's a common word. Yeah.
Well, says you.
I learned it from The Simpsons.
Says, oh, okay. Well, fine.
Now,
Continue.
With Eulenburg gone, the Kaiser's next best friend was Prince Max Egon of Baden, who was closely related to the Emperor of Austria-Hungary, which of course had drawn the Kaiser close to the Austrian royal family, which made him make more and more dumb promises. I'm simplifying things here by quite a lot because we only have so much time, but I think this paints the essential picture of what went on to bring Wilhelm to a point where he was willing to make these bad calls.
I mean, it is kind of remarkable just hearing it all out in order, like how long a massive conflict was avoided. Like there's so many close scrapes before something actually starts.
Yep. And there were a lot of other things going on. One of them was cold, ugly math. The German general staff had this fabulous plan cooked up by Schlieffen to win a two-front war in Europe, and they'd kept careful tabs on both the Russian and French armies. And they'd calculated that 1914 was basically the best year possible for them to have a war like this, if it was inevitable, which they thought it was, because both nations had started revamping their field armies. So this exact sequence of events that led to the outbreak of hostilities in World War I is too long a story to fit in at the end of an episode, and Kaiser Wilhelm's exact level of blame is heavily debated to this day. Rolf's book paints him as an eager belligerent, wringing his hands in anticipation. He was not excited for war precisely, but he was excited for a major diplomatic victory that would humble Russia and Britain without a shot being fired.
Well, sure,
but he understood that
money.
fighting... Yeah, exactly. He understood fighting might result, and he was willing to take that risk, but he didn't want it to come to that. He attempted to mediate between Austria and Serbia, and was briefly optimistic of peace once the Serbians yielded to most of Austria's demands, but then his ally decided to go to war anyway, and the Kaiser backed him still. Now, Van der Kist's biography paints a more reticent picture of Wilhelm. His belligerent words and threats of violence were the same sort of impulsive passing fancies that had steered him his entire life. He was a rich kid with poor impulse control, but he ultimately didn't want war, and when it came, he was horribly anxious over the whole affair. Writing years later, Bülow recalled, "No German, and above all, no English pacifist, was filled with a profounder or more honest love of peace than was William II. It was his own and our misfortune that his words and his gestures never coincided with his real attitude in the matter. When he boasted or even threatened people in words, it was often because he wanted to allay his own timidity." I think that's right.
Yeah.
He's an awkward, sad, insecure kid who winds up boasting and threatening because he's fundamentally insecure, and because he's a crowned head of a nation, it helps lead to war.
I feel like, that does seem like kind of the story of World War I in a lot of ways, where it's like the social conflicts are generally directing stuff, but then the fucked up inbred leaders are, able to be manipulated accordingly.
Yeah, and there was a big debate, and has been and it still continues, as to who is responsible for World War I. The nation of Germany was forced to take responsibility in the Treaty of Versailles, which was not fair. Germany and the Kaiser are not mostly responsible for World War I because there's so much blame to be shared by different nations. Sure. But you could make a strong case that the single individual with the largest share of the blame is Kaiser Wilhelm II. You could make that case.
Yeah, I mean, and it was like he was. It feels like his whole life is setting him up to do this level of
to fuck up
too.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see it coming from so far away. It's infuriating.
Yeah. Now, once war was joined, the Kaiser was hopeful that it would be a short, relatively bloodless affair and would leave the overall map of Europe relatively unchanged. He's not a Hitler-type guy. He doesn't want to conquer France, and he doesn't want to own and hold Belgium forever. He wants to move through Belgium and then eventually leave. He wants to beat France in a war and then sign a treaty with them, take a little bit more of their land maybe, but he wants France to still exist.
Yeah.
He doesn't really want to destroy England as a nation. He doesn't want to conquer. He doesn't want to conquer the entire world,
No, he just wants to fuck his mom.
He wants to fuck his mom, and he wants to be seen as a military hero.
I mean, don't we all, in a way?
Yeah. Now, we all, in a way, do.
Yeah.
Now, Wilhelm believed he'd be able to arrange peace when it was necessary, at basically any point, by just working things out one-on-one with his royal cousins.
Mm-hmm.
He noted that mere democracies could never make a peace conference work because war was a royal sport to be indulged in by hereditary monarchs and concluded at their will.
Oh.
This was part of the idea about war at the time, which was that war between kings never is that bad because kings are all friends at the end. And, our soldiers will kill each other for a while, but I don't want you to lose your crown. I don't want things to be that bad for you. We're just having a spat. And, once this is concluded satisfactorily, we can go back to being friends.
Right.
This is Wilhelm's idea at the start of this. Yeah.
Well, because he's like talking with his cousins. Like,
exactly.
It's like being, with just no awareness for the fact that there is a rest of the world that this affects.
Yeah, and this is not how things worked out.
No.
And World War I was instant. No. Like 250,000 Germans die in the first week of fighting.
Oh, shit.
It's like hundreds of thousands of people are dead as soon as the fighting starts.
Yeah.
And the Kaiser, as the situation grows more serious, the Kaiser is very quickly sidelined by his generals. He actually had almost no role in the conduct of the war throughout the vast majority of it.
Right.
It was basically ceremonial. He'd address factory workers and soldiers, and he spent a lot of his time on vacations at his farm.
Mm-hmm.
Germany increasingly became a military dictatorship, and by the end of it, the Kaiser was as much of a figurehead as the King of England. And of course, when the war ended in German defeat and 17 million deaths, Wilhelm II was forced to abdicate and flee the country. He spent the rest of his life in Doorn, in the Netherlands, living the quiet life of a country gentleman and a global pariah until his death in 1941 from being old as shit. In the end, I think the best epitaph for this man was written by journalist Charles Lowe, a foreign correspondent for the Times. He called Wilhelm, quote, the chief creator of the war spirit which he found it impossible to exercise or resist, and was thus, so to say, devoured by his own offspring. For at the last moment, when shrinking from the results of his own creative handiwork, he allowed the sword, in his own phrase, to be thrust into his hand, which was just as much as if he had drawn it of his own accord, thus proving himself to be a weak-willed and criminal ruler, the most nefarious of his kind who ever sat upon a throne.
There it is, that hand comparison again. Sorry, you hate to see it. You hate to see it. The hand is back.
It all comes back to the fucking hands.
Oh, always back to hands with this guy. Well, yeah, what a coward that was set up to be a fucking loser that would cost millions of people their lives.
Yep. And that's why monarchists are the dumbest people in the world.
Yeah. They're horrible, and I hate that there's usually an end to feel kind of bad for them because you're like, why would you not be horrible? Why would you be good?
Monarchs, the monarchs themselves, I absolutely, you have to have sympathy for a guy like Wilhelm because, fuck, man, there was no good ending to this story.
Right.
But, the people who want to go back to having a monarchy, that baffles me.
I can't figure out. I'm like, do you just like tabloids, like where
you like fancy costumes. That's what this shit's about.
I mean, like you can still have that. There's a lot of people that'll wear a lot of fancy. You should just start watching Drag Race. If you're a monarchist, just start watching Drag Race. You'll get you'll get what you want. And then
so are you? Sorry.
No. That's the end of my call to action for the monarchists.
Has your level of sympathy or feeling about Kaiser Wilhelm changed at all over the course of these episodes?
I honestly, my sympathy for him went up. Like I knew that everyone, all the monarchy like that were involved in the beginning of World War I were dumb as rocks, but
dumb as a bag of dead horses.
But the specificity of like how they even got that far is it just sucks. It sucks. He just wanted his mom to be in love with him.
He just wanted to fuck his mom's hand and get a medal.
I feel for her and I feel for Germany, and that God, I'm not feeling as like indignant and angry as I usually am at the end of this. I'm just feeling empty. I feel like a husk, Robert. Like an absolute husk right now.
I watched an interesting movie on Netflix last night called The Exception, which is based on a book called The Kaiser's Last Kiss. And it's a fictional story about a German SS officer who is the head of Wilhelm's bodyguard when Germany conquers the country where he's staying at the start of the Second World War. Mm-hmm. And it's also about this like British spy, and the movie is more sympathetic towards Wilhelm than I think the book is. The guy who wrote the book has a very deep knowledge of the man. It's an interesting book that I think gives a very fair accounting of the man's personality and doesn't make him into a demon or a good guy.
Okay.
Like he's just one of the phrases that it says about him is that he was half genius and half child. And it says there's another one where
do we feel he was a genius in any way? Is that do we give him that? I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
There were some parts like his understanding of labor rights and like the like that sort of thing. Like he was really good about certain things throughout his reign, but he was on the whole not a good leader. But the point this guy's making is that the things about him that he wasn't smart about led him to make a lot of his worst decisions.
Like that mustache.
That mustache.
Yeah. When you're full of yes men, when you're surrounded by yes men who won't tell you you're dumb as shit, you end up with that mustache and that life.
Yeah. There's a lot of good quotes in that book. I'm reading the book right now, and it's fun. So maybe check that out if you want more Kaiser Wilhelm in your life.
Sure.
But man, that's a hard. He. If you'll pardon the phrase, he drew a rough hand in life.
Oh, don't mention hands in front of him. He loses it.
And then he played that hand for shit.
Oh God! And then he's just like shaking his operational fist at the sky. You hate to see it.
He might be the worst at a job that anyone's ever been.
Yeah.
Like really, really bad at being the Kaiser.
Why you shouldn't just be given the most consequential jobs.
Not a job that should have existed.
Nope. Certainly not.
And you get the feeling if he'd been a ceremonial monarch like the King of England is today, he'd have been great at it. He loved marching around and wearing uniforms.
He loved outfits. I was about to say,
he loved outfits.
He's an Instagram monarch.
Yeah, he would have been very happy if he'd never had to make a real decision.
If he was just posting fit checks every day, like he would be happy as a little clam.
Thirst posting about the Russian army, fine.
Thirst posting about his mom. Yeah, just like another pic of me and mama. Yeah, no, what a monarchists. You're idiots. You're dumb. You're on notice.
You're dumb.
See you in the comment section.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna really bring the monarchist listeners behind the bastards out of the woodwork.
Hit the
on this
Reddit board, folks. Debate me.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I had this opinion before I started doing this research that kings were basically the same as dictators. And I don't feel that way anymore, in part because of all this reading about how hopelessly everyone watched this guy slouch towards being in power and couldn't stop it, which like a dictator seizes power generally. Right. And like there's not really a question about it. Like they take the power, and even if everyone, like a lot of people know they're bad at it, like they take it. Whereas with this, everyone's like, yeah, this guy's gonna be a disaster. Too bad there's nothing to do about it.
Right. That's the thing, is like it seems like if he had been given a way out where that wouldn't have resulted in eternal shame upon him and his family, he absolutely would have taken it.
If he could still have been the Kaiser, but not have had to make, maybe, I don't know, maybe
he
was also really arrogant.
Prince. He just wanted to be a fashion king.
Yeah, I do think he wanted to be a military power too, though. And like, I don't think he wanted to in that. I don't think he was inherently a military kind of guy, but because his whole family had raised him to believe that it's shameful to be a Prussian and not be a great warrior.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's fucked, man. It's a bummer of a story.
It's definitely fucked. I hate that I feel for him, but I do.
You kind of can't. It doesn't mean he didn't get millions of people killed and isn't a piece of shit. But like, it also means that like, well, fuck, you plug anybody into that job with that kind of upbringing. How does it end well?
How does it possibly? Yeah, it's I blame society, Robert.
I blame very specific assholes, not society in general. I blame a bunch of shitty people, including Queen Victoria.
We live in a society. That's my whole point.
I blame George Hinspeter, Queen Victoria, the Empress Augusta, and a couple of other terrible assholes. And some bad doctors.
I blame the doctors. I blame the arm stretcher. Whoever made the arm stretcher.
That didn't help.
They really have a lot to answer for. All right? Because it didn't work, first of all. And second of all, it was deeply humiliating. And you can sort of trace the death of many people to the humiliation from the arm stretcher.
So, buy an arm stretcher. By the way, this podcast is supported by arm stretchers. What if an
ad came on for an arm stretcher right now? Oh, boy.
Is your child the Prince of Prussia? Is his arm gimp? Buy an arm stretcher.
Stretch it out, of course. Good Lord.
Oh, boy. Yeah, he is. You do have to, you can't really understand him unless you understand that he was also a disabled man who was abused by a bigoted medical establishment.
Right, and there was like no option or ability for him to be accepted as he was. It sucks. It fucking sucks.
You know what doesn't suck, Jamie?
What?
Your pluggables.
That's, well, wait and see. No, I'm kidding. They're great. You can follow me on Twitter at Jamie Loftus Help. You can listen to, I'm releasing a short form podcast called My Year in Mensa that's about my horrible year in the Mensa organization.
So excited.
Robert, your voice is in it.
Thank you.
I was editing it in just yesterday. It comes out on Thanksgiving. It's a full-blown nightmare. I hope people listen to it. And then you can listen to the Bechdel cast every Thursday. And those are my pluggies.
Listen to the Bechdel cast. Listen to My Year in Mensa, which is Jamie's Year in Mensa, not my year in Mensa.
Not your year, but you could if you wanted to. But
yeah, I could not. Find us on the internet at behindthebastards.com, where we'll have all the sources for this. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at @bastardspod. And find some room in your heart to buy a neck stretching machine for the young infant child in your life today and ensure they grow up just like the Kaiser.
I gotta go get a stretch in right now. Right after I write my mom the scariest letter I've ever written in my life.
Yeah. Everybody write your moms about their sexy, sexy hands.
Everyone writing about their mom's sexy hands. No shame, just don't hit send. It's that simple. It's that shame. Robert is pro shaming people horny for their mom's hands. I'm a little more open-minded.
That's the fucking episode.
Bye.
You're listening to a podcast, so you're doing something else too, like maybe scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving places you like without thinking you'll get them. Because that's what house hunting has become. But Redfin isn't built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, which means when you find a place you love, you've got a real shot at getting it. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
This is Radhi Devlukia from A Really Good Cry. I absolutely love being outdoors, even if it's just stepping outside for a bit of fresh air between meals or taking a mindful walk to clear my head. But the one thing that can really ruin that is when my feet feel cramped in my shoes. So I switched to ultra running, and honestly, it makes such a difference. What I love most is their signature Ultra Fit Comfort Balance Strength. They have this roomy toe box that lets my toes actually spread and move naturally, so I really appreciate that. And I feel more grounded and balanced with every single step. It's like my feet can finally do their job, using all those little muscles that make me feel stronger the more I move. Whether you are a marathon runner, beginner or advanced, or just getting outside to train, Ultras have become my go-to for running and moving mindfully. They fit so well, they're so comfortable, and they just move with you. Shop now at ultrarunning.com and use my code CRY10 for 10% off. That's ALTRA running.com. Experience Ultra and stay out there.
This is Angela Yee from Way Up with Angela Yee. Y'all, Black Girl Vitamins is completely changing the wellness game for us. You know our bodies don't move the same as we get older, and health becomes even more important. BGV, Black Girl Vitamins, is giving us all the supplements we need to stay healthy. I've seen hundreds of ladies online raving about their tasteless collagen powder that made their joint pain practically disappear. I had to try it myself, and y'all, it is the truth. If your body needs help bouncing back, go ahead and check their products out on blackgirlvitamins.co and get 20% off using code Angela Yee.
The new Chicken Bacon Ranch Street Chalupa is at Taco Bell. You can't get just one. Okay, so that's not like some marketing hyperbole. You literally can't get just one. They come in twos. So like, if you want just one, you're going to need to find a friend who loves slow roasted chicken, bacon, and avocado ranch sauce. Or a friend of a friend, or have an awkward conversation with a complete stranger to see if they're obsessed with chicken, bacon, and avocado ranch. Or you could just like eat them both because you're obsessed with slow roasted chicken, bacon. Okay, you get the idea. The new Chicken Bacon Ranch Street Chalupa is at Taco Bell. At participating Taco Bell U.S. locations for a limited time while supplies last.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.